All right. You got the little recording sign?
Mm-hmm.
All
Continue.
right. Yeah. Do you still agree to all the terms and conditions as far as the consent to record this podcast and release on
Most
various platforms?
most definitely.
All right, let me get this frog out of my throat. Hold on. It's early in the morning, man. I know you got some
Yeah,
beer. It
I
must
get
be
the frog
nice.
out of my throat as well.
Okay. Welcome back, listeners. Today, my guest is Isaac. He's a man who's wrestled for a majority of his life. I wanted him on the show because I love wrestlers. To me, it's the original combat sport. If you look at whenever two men get into a confrontation, it's usually 80% of the time it's going to end up on the floor. It's just kind of like naturalistic. Even the ancients knew it. It goes way back to then. As far as other types of combats like war or whatever, I mean, that's when you get into like distance striking, weapons and all kinds of stuff like that. But just the basics of the basics, even if you see two little kids on the playground, they'll end up rolling around and just getting into a scrap. So I always love wrestlers, and he's a pretty good one. Isaac, can you introduce yourself, please?
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. My name is Isaac Dukes. As your gracious host just said, I am a wrestler. I've been wrestling for 26 years now, going on 27. Yeah, I'm excited. It's been a long journey, a lot of injuries, but a lot of ups and a lot of downs. It's been great. I appreciate you having me on here to talk about the sport that I love so much, that's given me so much. And yeah, and you're right. Most fights do end up on the ground, so I pray that no one wants to fight me, because if it goes to the ground,
Game over.
no, it's not game over. But I'm majority goes to me. It's gonna go to me.
Yeah. So you're being a little modest, man, because I've met so many people who joined the military talking about they're gonna play for the military or the Army, the Navy, the Air Force basketball team or football team or whatever, and you actually wrestled for the Army. Is that right?
Oh, yes, I did. Yeah, for about the first 5 years of my career, I was just wrestling. Either most of the time, at least 9 months out of the year, I was competing on the mat. Sometimes it was the full year, but yeah, mainly just 9 months out of the year for the first 6 years of my career, 5, 6 years of my career.
So was that your intention when you joined? You always knew, okay, I'm gonna join the Army, but I'm gonna be a wrestler.
Well, when I joined, I knew there was an opportunity for me to compete in the sport of wrestling. I definitely, had the goal set to do it, and I got the tryout. And it took me some. I didn't go in it wasn't automatic. Some people actually come into the Army and all they do is sports. Like we have a couple Olympians right now that they've never been on the line, or been, in staff or anything like that. All they've done is sports. So yes, I did know there was an opportunity. I had a good friend that was already on the team. I talked to him before I came in, and yeah, then I set my goal. I didn't know if I still had it. It had been about a couple years since in between my competitions before I joined the Army, but yeah, I joined it and I did pretty good.
Okay, so there was a break in between that. I didn't know that. I thought you just competed obviously like in high school. Maybe you did some college, and I thought you just rolled right into the Army. But there was a little bit of a break in between there.
So technically no. So I competed in high school. Yep. So I was about 17 years old. Graduated high school at 17. Then I went to college. I did 4 years of college. Graduated at about 21. And then I took a job. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I took a job. I was still involved in the sport. I coached a lot. I was still like rolling around with the high schoolers. They all thought they could beat me. None of them could. But then I went to a couple different high schools just to stay into the sport. And then I realized that I still had it, and that's when I joined the Army and had the opportunity to wrestle. So there was only a break in competition. There wasn't a real break in the actually working
training out. And yeah, keeping the reflexes and everything. Yeah. Okay, awesome, man. So it seems to me that in the past, wrestlers only had one route, which was like go in, high school, maybe college. I guess most of them do college, and again go to the Olympics, right? Is that the how it used to be, the only route? And then maybe you became like a wrestler on WWF or E, whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's sort of the only career path, right?
Mm. Yeah, and it's a little bit more these days. They're starting to open the sport up a lot, but that right there is still your basic career path. You know,
Yeah.
high school, college, Olympics. Some people don't go to finish college, but it's okay.
Hmm.
They still have a chance to go to the Olympics. But yeah, that's like your basic career path. But now they have other opportunities. You know, mixed martial arts. A lot of the
Hmm.
champions are wrestlers. It's a great easy sport to transition to mixed martial arts. And then they also have these pro wrestling leagues. It's very strange. They'll have like exhibitions, well, not really exhibitions, but just big competitions where they sell tickets and they feature, you know, top wrestlers like, oh, you know, Kyle Dake wants to wrestle with
Right.
Jordan Burroughs, or they'll bring foreign guys over to wrestle certain people. It's becoming a large thing. And
Oh.
yeah, people are making pretty big money. It's 25, seen $25,000 checks having just a bracket style tournament, winning 25, you know, $10,000 in the five for like the bronze. So it's getting pretty lucrative. Not as, you know, you're not gonna make football contracts or NBA contracts, but
Right, right.
you
You're
know,
not making Drake money.
no, definitely not making Drake money. Oh,
Yeah,
who else
man.
made Drake? I don't know. I wish I made Drake money. That'd be nice.
You know, it kills me still, man, because like to this day, I remember growing up and you know, Van Damme was like the man. You know, a couple of other people, Wesley Snipes, a couple of
Yeah,
people were like the man. But it's like
Van
these
Damme.
dudes, you know, I mean, for whatever, I'm not trying to take anything away from them, because they probably kicked my butt, both those guys. But there were dudes walking around like you who had wrestled for like 26 years or did some kind of other martial art or whatever, who are like hardcore competitors, but nobody knows them. But these guys could whoop whoever's the famous guy in the action movies butt. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Like there's, I don't know. I remember watching UFC like the early days. You know, there was a Ken Shamrock.
Oh
You know
yeah,
Ken
oh yeah.
Shamrock. He used to be in the WWF when it was called WWF. It's
Mhm.
WWE now or whatever. And yeah, Ken Shamrock, and he went in there and people were kicking his butt, but he was a tough fighter. He
Mhm.
wasn't, you know, he didn't give up. He was a little older. But yeah, he's a tough son of a gun. I ain't gonna lie to you about that. So some of these guys actually are very qualified in martial arts. You know, we want to dismiss them, but some of these people are pretty good. You
Yeah.
know, but there's also some people walking around the street that can probably whip anybody's ass that, you know, runs upon them. So it's, yeah, I don't know. The bar fights are getting a little skeptical these days because, you know, these guys, you don't know what these guys know. You might end up getting kicked in the face. You know, when it used to just
Exactly.
be a, you know, fisticuff. This dude might bust out some karate kicks or something crazy.
Some Carl McGraw, something like that, man. I don't
Yeah,
know.
you
I,
might, you don't know
I'm
what
more worried, like,
the
because I don't really go out to bars and stuff, but I'm more worried, like, people pulling out a weapon or like it's
mm,
not going to be a fair fight. If it's just me and another guy, I'm okay. I'm not a great fighter, but I'm like, all right, I, I'm okay with me losing a fight to just one dude like this. But I'm
yeah,
not, you know, you're not gonna
yeah.
stab me. You're not gonna have a bunch of people like kicking me when I'm on the ground. Like I'm not into that.
Yeah, I understood that, but for me, I'm just thinking like the mindset that my father had, like,
Mm-hmm.
because he had three boys. You know, we
Mm,
grew up in a neighborhood with this bunch of kids. You know, I
mm-hmm.
know you're a man with children, so you know there's a bunch of kids around. You know, and like my dad was like, okay, you know, I'm in the military. I don't, you know, I'm gonna be gone a little bit. I don't have time to beat up everybody's father for their kids beating up my kids. You know, that's not a real
Right.
thing. You know, you can't really do that. So I got to teach my kids how to beat up the kids. So then when the father does come to me, I can be like, hey, man, that was between the kids. You know, your son lost. You know, my son lost. You know, hey, let's just make them friends now and we'll squash the beef. You know, they're the
Right.
kids. They don't really know what's going on. So yeah, that's really one thing that I really like about martial arts, or one way that I really got into martial arts, and my father got me into martial arts, was just, you know, being learn how to be able to defend yourself, so that wouldn't happen. That, you know, someone would stab me, or, you know, I'd get jumped. I'd be able to at least, you know, the first guy's gonna get, he's gonna get hurt pretty bad, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and then the second guys, if they still want it, they want to come, then whatever. They might have to bring a knife, but you know, I practice knife defense.
There you
Gun
go.
defense is it's a thing, but it's not really a thing because,
Yeah.
you know, with distance anybody could get shot.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Totally, man. All right, man. So we talked about the Olympics. How close did you get, man, to the
Mm.
Olympics? Or explain the route, because I know a lot of people don't
I
even know the journey. What's the route to the Olympics? You know, because I know there's all these different like levels you have to, you know, kind of like. I think there's nationals, right? There's like all these different things.
All right. So usually the route to get to the Olympics, you have to go to U.S. Open. All right, or you have to qualify for the Olympic trials. The U.S. Open is a qualifier for the trials. You place top. I think sometimes they go down to top 5, top 7. At the U.S. Open, you will qualify for the trials. Yep, and then they have other competitions, but there's other little feeder programs that go into the Olympic trials. Olympic trials is the show. Everybody wants to be there. The year I went, it was in Iowa. This year, I don't. Oh, where was it at? It was in Texas somewhere. I don't remember where it was this year. I was over here. I was kind of like, I distanced myself from it because I was just a little upset. The pandemic. But anywho, so the year that I actually got to see it was in 2016 in Iowa City, Iowa. The home of the Hawkeyes. It was absolutely amazing. So so you do have to wrestle at that tournament, and then if you win, you have a spot. If you don't win, you don't have a spot. But some people are not guaranteed to go to the Olympics, which is interesting. Okay. So the way wrestling works is you have to qualify the weight for the Olympics, and by doing in order to do that, you have to win certain tournaments throughout the 4 years leading up to the Olympics in order to qualify your weight. So there's like certain qualifier tournaments all over the world. Bulgaria, some in Hungary. There's Last Chance in Italy. There was one this year in I forget where it was at, but like the Pan Am Championships. I don't know if you ever heard of like the Pan American Championships. I know, yeah. They have those, yeah. So that's if you win that, then you're automatically qualified. You qualify the weight. You don't qualify the person. So in America, you have to qualify the weight first, and then whoever wins the weight class at the Olympic trials, then that person is qualified for the Olympics.
Okay.
If that makes sense. I know it was it's wrestling is very complicated, but a lot of sports are even more complicated than that.
Yeah. Olympics it sounds like it's two things: qualifying the weight, one, and then qualifying to go. It's like yourself. Two different things. Yeah.
So you can win the Olympic trials. There's been people that have won the Olympic trials tournament,
but they didn't qualify the weight
and not gone to the Olympics. Yeah, they didn't go to the Olympics. Okay. Luckily, some weights are just more stacked than others, and the opportunity to qualify that weight is not there. It all depends on how good the person is leading up to the Olympic trials. Sometimes you just don't have it.
Yeah.
But me, no. My Olympic
how close
journey,
you get, man? Yeah. How close did you get? Let us know.
It's still in progress.
You haven't given up yet?
This is the closest I've gotten right here. No, I have not given up. No. There's no way. No. Even though I'm 30 years old, there's just no way. It's something that you just want so bad. It's like that pretty girl at the bar. She's gonna reject you as many times as you want, but as long as you keep that confidence, you keep improving your game. Who knows? Maybe you'll see her. Maybe she'll end up being your wife one day, and that's what I'm hoping for the Olympics. Even if I don't get it, it's okay. There's other pretty girls out there.
Right.
But same thing is like I have so much passion. I love the sport so much that this would be my ultimate goal. But I've already reached the highest goals that I've ever set for myself in wrestling. So the Olympics was just something that I compiled to that. But the Olympics wasn't my ultimate goal. Just that you know that. When I first started wrestling, I did not even consider the Olympics. It was like, oh, I want to be a high school state champ. Okay. Never did that.
Okay.
Never did it. Then after that, I was like, okay, I want to be a college national champ. I did it. I definitely was a college national champ.
Congratulations.
And after college, I was like, you know what? I want to give back to the sport. I want to show other people how amazing this sport is and all the things that they can possibly do and all the confidence that they can gain, all this passion that they can have for it. And it'll just enlighten every other part in their life. And that's what I really wanted. And it happened. And maybe my journey to the Olympics has just been a part of that. I don't have to go to the Olympics. I'm not gonna, I won't live again if I don't. No, it's fine. It's fine.
It kind of sounds like to me, like there's all those actors in Hollywood that are really great, but sometimes the guy just never gets an Oscar. You know what I mean? But he was a great actor, or she was a great actress for like many years, had a great career. You know what I mean? Like good Tom Cruise and some other people, man. It's just kind of like the stars, everything has to align up. You like perfectly, and then boom, it happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes. Definitely. Most definitely. But hey, wrestling's a great sport. Like I said, I want to give back. I've been giving back, doing things like this, just bringing anybody I could tell about the sport of wrestling. I will tell. I'll give you any story you want.
All right,
I
man.
love it. I love it. I love it.
Let's transition real quick into MMA, man, because another reason why I love wrestlers so much. So I got into, my family's Puerto Rican, right? We had people who are boxers and stuff like that in my family growing up. And boxing was a major event in my house, in my family growing up. There would be a big fight on. And I mean, like we'd have like 50, 60 people in an apartment, just drinking, partying, watching big fights. We always loved it. So fighting was kind of like always a thing, but with your hands, like they say, even back then it was, shooting J's, fisticuffs, two people one-on-one like that. But then, UFC happens and it becomes like jujitsu. I always knew about wrestling. Everybody's always knew about wrestling, but I didn't have anyone close to me that was a wrestler. But as I kind of grew up and I met more people and I started to understand what wrestling was, I got it. I understood it, I think, a lot sooner than a bunch of other people did. And plus, a lot of the people who were very early on giving the Gracies a hard time and then eventually ended up taking over the sport were all wrestlers. You know what I mean? You could just see it. And what it turned out to me to be was two things. The first one, work ethic, man. Work ethic. No, there's no other sport as a single sport. I don't mean like mixed martial arts, because that's a combination of different things. I've one sport that has a harder drive, work ethic, competition level than wrestling, right? So that's one thing. Like it gives you the best work ethic you can ever have. The second thing is, if you're a wrestler, it's like when we talk about war, right? We're in the army. If you can choose the battleground, 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to win that war. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to choose, hey, we're going to fight, but we're going to fight here. And that's what wrestling is. It's like, yo, I'm a great wrestler. You Anderson Silva, you're Craig McGregor, you're Chuck Liddell. You're one of these guys that could just knock me out with one punch. I'm not shooting hands with you. I'm taking you down to the ground. You know what I mean? Or you're a great wrestler, but you got no hands. So I'm not going to wrestle with you. Like, because there's the ability to take people down, and there's the ability to stop yourself from being taken down. If your whole game is take me down and I stop you from taking down, advantage to me.
Yeah. Mixed martial arts is it's a beautiful sport at times, but then also at times it's kind of packed with a lot of amateurs as well on the lower levels. The upper levels, it's I saw the McGregor fight the other day, him and Portier. I was hoping for a battle.
Yeah, everybody.
Unfortunately, the ankle situation. But I was sitting here watching the fights before that, and I was just like, yes. It just brought me back. The crowd, because it was packed in Vegas. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love that. The performance is so great. Some of these people that these people put on, it's so entertaining. Like now it's becoming the sport where everyone wants to watch, because boxing is just. I'm not gonna talk bad about boxing, because so many people have. But boxing is just not it anymore. People in boxing they don't want to put it out there, put it on the line. They want to retain their belts. UFC, come on, let's roll. I don't mind if
Dana White makes them fight. Yeah, he makes them fight. Yeah.
4 or 5 losses, who cares? Let's fight. Like boxing, they don't want a blemish on their record. You lose once, you're not Mayweather anymore. And oh my gosh, in MMA, no one wants to be Mayweather, because we don't have a Mayweather. Khabib, great, he retired. Hey, we moved on. Now we wanted to see great fights, because that's all we're gonna ever get. Now, if the Mayweather's out of boxing, there's no good fights anymore. They don't want to blemish their record. I've been waiting for this Garcia and Davis kid to fight, or this, I've been waiting for these good fights. So all these undefeated guys holding on to like 100 different titles, because the boxing has IBF, WBO, all these different titles.
Yeah.
It's way too many. UFC, there's only one title.
That's it.
Everybody at this weight has to go get it. And it's so many different matchups that are putting out there. It's such an amazing sport, man. I wish boxing would level. I love boxing. I have that spirit. I love boxing. Everyone grew up watching boxing. I love a good fist fight. Everyone loves a good fist fight.
Yeah.
But they're not giving us what we want. They don't have that passion anymore. It's all this hype, and then there's no draw. Like Fury and Wilder, is that the best draw? They fought what? That's the only fight I want to. I don't want to see that fight anymore. I don't want to see the fight anymore.
That one's coming up though, ain't it? Right? That's part 3, right? Coming up.
No, the trilogy just got postponed. Fury,
Injury.
I believe him or somebody in his camp tested positive for COVID.
Oh, yeah.
It's like every time you get like even a good hype boxing match, something happens. UFC, no sir, let's get it. Like if even if that person, say there's a title fight scheduled, all right, and something happens, a day or a week before the fight, they will put somebody in that spot. Oh, I guarantee it. There's somebody out there.
Try their best. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But there's people that won. People in the mixed martial arts world don't care. We will go into this fight. We will go and hey, I'm gonna give you everything. Because they're constantly training, and they love it. They love the art.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, man, because that's what we do on shows, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything you said is 100% right, but I would add that that's to the benefit of us, the fan, not so much to the benefit of the athlete. See, the genius to me of Floyd Mayweather is that he didn't take that much damage because he picked and chose his fights. And he's looking at everybody going, look, you guys went and you took on all the great contenders and you got your head knocked off and your career lasted 5 years. You were a shooting star, for like 2-year period, you were the fucking man. And now nobody wants to know about you. Where his career lasted so long, he had that longevity, didn't take damage, and made more money than anyone else in the sport. So what you're saying, I'm looking at it from both sides is what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? There has to be sort of a middle ground where it seems like boxing is too far all the way towards the individual, the athlete, and not really, focusing on what got them there, the fans, that fan base. And the UFC is kind of like doesn't care too much about the fighter, but it's all about the fan base, which is great for their business, though, the bottom line.
Yeah. I definitely understand that. But there's another fighter right now that's doing that same thing. Canelo. He's very smart. I know he picked the Mayweather fight early, kind of.
I don't think he had a choice. I think he had to. I think he had to take it, or he never would have got it.
Because he wanted to elevate his superstar status, and now he's there. Now he can pick and choose whoever he wants to fight, but he has the fan base behind him because he has all of Mexico is rooting for this man.
Yeah, man.
Yes. But there's so many other United States fighters that people want to root for, but they don't want to fight. So who cares? But when a Canelo fight comes on,
he gets it to you too. He brings it too, man.
Yes, and he brings it.
Yeah.
Yes, he brings it. I don't understand what's up with these young fighters that they don't want to compete. But you are right. You need to pick and choose as a boxer. Pick and choose who you're fighting so you can expand your career. But hey, if you want the gold, if you want all the money, the attention, you got to put it on the line, man.
Yeah.
You have to put it on the line. There's nothing. No, you have to put it on the line. You
have
to be willing to risk your life in your career.
No, I think you do in anything, not just like sports, whatever. There's going to be times where you're going to have to take a risk. You're going to have to put yourself out there if you really want to achieve that next level. But the question I wanted to ask though is, between the two sports, between MMA and boxing, which one you think is more devastating health-wise? So here's what I think, man. And you tell me what your opinion is. Overall, the amount of injuries that you could sustain in MMA is far greater. But you constantly being hit in the head in boxing is going to leave you messed up. So I would actually say that the damage that's going to happen to you, like mentally, your brain, is probably worse in boxing. If my kid was up to me like, hey, I want to do boxing or I want to do MMA, I think I would tell him, do MMA. Besides the fact that if it comes down to a street fight, I think knowing MMA is probably overall better. You know what I mean? But it's not that really. I mean, yeah, that is part of it. It's just his health, man. I've met too many old boxers that when they talk, they're like stuttering. You know what I mean? It's not there, man.
Yeah, that's why I've never boxed. I don't want that brain injury, or they say it's a stereotype that boxers become dumb after a certain amount of fights. But
Stereotype, because
I've
it's true.
I've seen a lot of brain injuries, and I don't want a brain injury. I like my intellect. I like being able to articulate things and have people understand me without me stuttering. But both sports, they have their their range of injuries they have. Boxing going more towards the brain, the CTE injury, and then mixed martial arts, you got all these you got all these wrist injuries, you got your
knees,
back hurts, your knees hurt, your shoulders, your elbows. It's a thing. So tell you, yeah, truth is, I would not direct my children to compete fully in either of them, but I would want them to have, a base knowledge of both of them, so that just in case something happens, they can defend themselves. I know that nowadays it's like, oh, these kids are gonna have to defend themselves. I'm not beating up everybody's dad, because their kids beat up my kids. So they look here, my kids beat up your kids. Hey, we could set up an exhibition again if you want to. You're gonna be the dads and the chicken, the dog fight or the chicken fight. Hey, look here, my kid beat up your kid. All right, your kid want a rematch? We can set it up right here. But no, I'm kidding. I definitely would never bet on my kids in street fighting with other kids in the neighborhood. But it might be, I don't know. It might be an underground league of dads that are scheduling street fights for their 6-year-old kids.
Oh, I've heard of stuff, man. I've heard of stuff. I don't know if you know about this, but like back in the day, like when one of the ways that the Gracies blew up is that they would start a gym and nobody knew what the fuck really what jiu-jitsu was, let alone Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And they would go around to the other martial arts schools, taekwondo, karate, kickboxing, whatever, and they would have the Gracie Challenge. I don't know if you remember that. There's some videos out there called the Gracie Challenge.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, man. So that kind of thing, or the Kimbo Slice thing, right? Where he was just, some dudes had money. Hey, you two guys, boom, compete, man.
Yeah, that's a little too much.
That's brutal. That's brutal.
I like it. That's brutal.
That's some street stuff right there.
That's ultimate me versus you, no equipment.
Probably not even a doctor or nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Oh, have you seen that new series, those new bare knuckle fights?
Yeah, I've seen little clips on like YouTube or stuff like that. It's wild.
Those are crazy. Those are wild. I'm sorry. I like that. That's a good sport. It's very, very violent. Very, very, very violent. I like it.
Yeah, man. So let's talk about your upbringing, man. Tell everybody where you're from.
Oh, okay. So I was born in Cleveland, Ohio. I don't know if anybody knows where that is. You might know it's a Mistake on the Lake. It's got a lot of different names for it. We just changed our baseball team name, which is upsetting to a lot of people in this.
Oh, because the Indians, really?
Yeah. They changed
I did not hear about that.
This news just came out yesterday, so I'm breaking news now.
Breaking news, dude.
Yeah, breaking news.
Wait, what's the name? The Gardeners, you said?
The Guardian. So
the Guardians. Okay.
Yes. So they pretty much just changed the first 2 letters on Indians and added GAUR. Or GUAR, I don't know how to spell it.
Well, that makes more sense than why Washington did. Why Washington just didn't call themselves the Skins? You know what I'm saying?
That sounds a little Jeffrey Dahmer, Hannibal Lecter.
I guess with the skin of the ball, the pigs. I don't know, man. But the name they chose was ridiculous. The Washington football team. The Pigskin something.
Okay, but back to the story. We love the tangent of football, but no, back to the story. Grew up in Cleveland. Grew up on the East Side. Some people might know where that is, but some people might not. I was there till I was 6 years old. Some of my first memories are definitely of Cleveland. All my first memories are of Cleveland. Then I moved out to the country, about an hour southeast of Cleveland, to a place called Ravenna. Very, very country, sticks. People have outhouses, don't have running water, things like that. A lot of farmland. Paved roads that doesn't exist. Sidewalks, we definitely don't have sidewalks. It's not New York. There's no sidewalks. We have ditches on the side of our roads. And yeah, I grew up in a neighborhood out there. Like I said, very backwoods, and that's where my that's where my passion for it comes from. That's where my hard work, my dedication, it all comes from that, because it's a very rural town, blue collar town. It's you gotta pull yourself up from your
salt of the earth type of thing. Yeah,
you got no choice but to work hard.
And it sounds like your dad was a tough guy, man. Tell me a little bit about him, if you don't mind.
My father was a tough man. No, he was a military man, but very, very into martial arts. It was like almost an obsession. Like we'd sneak in, he would leave books around. I remember we'd have this the Arnold Schwarzenegger the Weight Watchers books. Or not the Weight Watchers, the weightlifter books. We'd have those around. Yeah, just look. My father was a great reader, great man of knowledge, and yeah, he had so much passion. He was really good. Great judo guy, great at judo. Could have been a world champion.
Wow.
Yeah, really, really good. Judo got us into karate at a very, very young age. Got us into mixed martial arts at a very young age. And then wrestling was like the first thing he sent us there because he knew what was coming ahead. That all these kids, they want to box and stuff like that. But if you take them down, you can't box me. Can't box from your back, baby.
That's right.
Come on, what's up?
That's
so
right.
yeah, and he had 3 sons. None of us were very big at first, but then we all became, we started to develop and we grew a lot. And he just didn't want to have to deal with us, in the neighborhood, because there's a lot of kids in the neighborhood. Growing up in the 90s, a lot of kids. I don't know about how it is nowadays, but a lot of kids in the 90s and a lot of kids all meeting at the same place, to play. Yeah. And there's always going to be us versus them type of. And he was not trying to deal with that. So, hey, teach my boys how to fight. They can defend themselves. And if the kids want to, have the next day, then they're going to, it's just going to be an ongoing struggle. But they're going to know how to defend themselves. They're not going to come home to me crying.
So it was 3 of you guys. You and 2 more brothers?
Yes. So I had 2 brothers and then 2 sisters. All right. Okay. But the toughest out of us was my oldest sister. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, there might have been some boys. My oldest sister was 10 times tougher than any boy. I've seen her beat up grown men. Like, she does not play around. She does not play around. My oldest sister, Alexandria, is the toughest in the family. And then I have a girl. The oldest sister is Alexandria. A boy, Jonathan. He's about 6'4", 250 pounds now.
He took all your height. Bro.
He took all my height. I should have fought harder to get out of the womb. I swear to God. And then my middle brother, he's about 5'11". He's about my weight. He's a thinner guy, but he's still big, but he has more lean muscle than I. And I have a bulk muscle. And then me, I'm about 5'7", and then my little sister, she's crazy. So my oldest sister is the fighter. My little sister is crazy because my little sister had to deal with all the boys, and then she had to deal with me. Yeah. So I'm always messing with her, but she'll cut me. She'll cut me. She'll cut you. That's the one that cut you. My oldest sister beat you up. My little sister cut you.
And did everyone compete, or did everyone do martial arts, wrestling, or what?
Oh yeah. No. The girls, they just weren't into it. My little sister, she was a little soccer player. My older sister, she was like boys and stuff. Like, she didn't care about that. She was very girly. They're both really girly because my mother is extremely girly, so they didn't care stuff like that. My oldest brother, he wrestled for a while, but then he just grew. And basketball was a thing. He was a child of the 90s, he grew.
Trying to be MJ. All right.
Yeah. Everybody wanted. I think he was born in 80, 85, 86. So come on, that's like right when he's growing up. Michael Jordan is like the most popular person on the planet. So and then Allen Iverson came out. So that's all he wanted to be. So he ended up moving to the basketball. He was tall enough. And then me and my brother Philip, that's what we did. Beat each other up every day. My mother could not leave us alone in the house for 5 minutes without us breaking something, and she said that to us a lot. Like, I can't not leave you guys alone because there's been story. Just brief little tangent. I'm sorry. I just thinking about we had this little living room, whatever. Me and my brother, my parents are gone. Whatever, this is a scuffle, like over the remote. That's like how it is. I want to watch this. You want to watch this? No, I had the remote. You're just gonna take it from me? Okay, no. It's like, well, fight me for it then. Well, we tried to move. My mother had this nice coffee table with underneath. It had like little shelving underneath, and had these huge glass bowls, expensive glass bowls. All of this. Like, you don't mess with it, No, we're like, all right, whatever. We're just gonna move the coffee table so we don't break anything. So in the process of moving the coffee table, one of the glass bowls underneath slides off, severs my brother's tendon on his foot, breaks, and we're like, luckily my parents were just coming home. Like, you have no idea. We were freaking out because he started, like, all of a sudden I just seen like his big toe just like cross over, like in a very weird fashion. Yeah. He couldn't control it anymore. It crossed over his other toes, and then like you could see into the bone, like down to the bone for a second there. And then the blood started coming out. And I'm like, oh, man. So we like rush him. Because we had nothing. We were going to go to my grandma's house. She lives on the other block. Like, grandma knew what to do. Like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Take me to grandma's house. Luckily, my parents were pulling up as soon as this happened
Oh,
because
man.
like that's just one of the many stories. But that was one of I just remember looking inside of my brother's foot and having
That's
his whole
crazy.
tendon severed.
Yeah, that reminds me of John Jones. Remember he won that one fight and his toe was like, one toe was like all the way.
And he had to reach down and keep pulling it. You know, he had to reach down and like put it back into place. Yeah, that's my brother. It was the nastiest thing I've ever seen. But it was that
You kept wrestling after that though. I bet you I kept on doing it.
Oh, that was our history. There's hundreds of stories I can tell you about like that. But yeah, that was the basis of us. And my mother could not leave us.
I just got some breaking news here from the Latino delegation of the world. We are upset with the Cleveland Browns. That is racist. Their name has to change. We're gonna have to change the name for it. Cannot be the Browns, man. That's we have that name. That's crazy. That's like calling them the Blacks, man. You can't. No, we can't.
Okay.
We got
well,
to
you have to know about the origin. So okay. So in order that you have to know about the origin of the Browns.
Tell me the origin.
You know about Paul Brown. Paul Brown. He invented football, pretty much. So Ohio was the birthplace of the great sport of pigskin, American-style football.
Right.
So
it's named after the man Paul Brown.
Yes, it was named after the man Paul Brown. So it was his team, the Browns. So that's like so every person in America would have to change their name. If they're brown and not brown skin, they would have to change their name to something else. They would have to change their name to fit it. I know some people who have white skin that are called black, and I'm very upset with that. You know, there's some parts of the world, the N-word is a last name. You know that, right? In some parts of the world. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. So what if someone like or first name? I think it's a first name. When I was in college, a Middle Eastern girl, I think she was, a Persian, something. It was, I forgot how she spelled it, but you pronounced it Niga, like that, which is, if you say it in English, you'd be okay. You know what you're saying. So she had to go by her last name. The whole time she was in college, she was going by her last name and not her first name. Like, people are just, some things you gotta take too far. But hey, if that's who they are and that's their name, then respect it and don't make a fucking scene out of it. Different cultures, man. If they're being racist, then when they're being racist. If they're just being, that's just what it is, and that's what it is. Like, you can't hate on that. Good enough. Yeah. Oh, girl, she'll be all right. Nika, something like that. Something like that. Listen to this. Tell her that, hey, she has a beautiful name. God bless her, and I hope everything's working out for her. She ever sees me on the street. She was a great person. She was real sweet. Give her a call. I think she's married, man. Oh, well, Hey. But yeah, man, let's go into that. I know we're gonna talk about fighting and everything, man. I think people are a little too sensitive today, man. I mean, I remember growing up and all kinds of jokes and stuff like that, but I think people have forgotten the intention behind something. You know what I mean? I know Patrice O'Neal would talk about that. Like, if someone said something, they would always ask him. I think when the guy from Seinfeld, Kramer, you remember when he started saying the N-word, he got crazy and stuff like that. They were asking him. He was like, look, the dude was just trying to be funny. I mean, I don't think the guy was racist or stuff like that, but I don't know, man. I don't know how you feel about all that. Yeah, we as people, we have to know, everyone has that awkward feeling. That awkward, when the moment gets awkward. That's it right there. You know what I'm saying? When that happens, then that's when we know, like, okay, we either messed up and we need to pull back, or we can keep going and keep that awkwardness going, and think we're funny, but it's that line. We all have seen the line. Sometimes it's broad, sometimes it's thin, but we know where that line is. We know that there's a point of no return. Once you cross over that line, you can step on that line, and people are gonna be like, all right, which way is he gonna go? Is he gonna go too far? Is he gonna bring it back? So you just have to realize that the line is thin, it's broad. So once you're on that line, everyone, you can't pretend here and play dumb like you don't know where the line is. We all know where the line is. We all know where the line is. And there were certain things that's broad, it's not so broad, like I said. But once you hit that line, you have to be able to reel it back in and keep yourself on that side where it's like, okay, he could have went there, but he didn't go there. Or you could just say, fucking take it all away. Like, no, Kramer, he knew the line. And he could have just kept it, okay, whatever. But then he said, fuck it, I'm just gonna go all the way. There's a point where a lot of people just say, fuck it, and they just go all the way. Like when you're arguing with your wife, there's a line where there's a place where you could apologize. Okay,
right.
I know that I'm probably right about this. I can either keep going or I can be like, hey, baby, you're right. Hey, let's work on this together. Let's be civilized about this, and we bring it back home. Mm-hmm. But if you want to take it there, I guarantee your wife will take it there with you. You know what I'm saying? She'll escalate it with you. So you have to realize that there's a point where there's no return. So keep yourself on the side where there's a possibility of return. You can't just go that way. And that's the same thing with the culture. So we're talking about, people are getting too soft and stuff like that.
So for you, when you grew up, I grew up in New York City, right? Which was, just a mix of like everything, but mostly Latino and Black, about 80% of New York City, especially out of the, the ritzy areas. It's mostly Latino and Black. Where you grew up, was it as diverse or was it mostly Black people? Like where was it? What was it like?
I lived in two different worlds. My neighborhood was all Black. Okay. You're not going to see maybe onesie, twosie whites, but they're probably a white woman married to a Black man. And like some mixed kids, but we consider the kids Black. And then outside of my neighborhood, which was a pretty decent sized neighborhood, outside of the neighborhood, once you go into the city, it's all white. There's two predominantly Black neighborhoods in Ravenna, one on the north side, one on the south side, and then anything between is white.
So I'm guessing, I'm trying to lead you to a certain point. But I'm guessing that because, I know the culture, right? The N-word was used a lot in your neighborhood.
Oh, yeah. I probably used it. I probably woke up and said the N-word. I ain't gonna, don't tell anybody, but, I said it myself.
That on camera, yeah. So for me too, like in New York City, and for me, everybody used it. It didn't matter what race you were. I didn't know too many Black guys. I met some, there were a few, but the majority of the people I knew didn't seem to care. I guess because we were all poor minorities. It didn't seem to like matter. You know what I mean? I don't know. I guess we were all like in the same group. But did you ever see anyone from a different background use the N-word?
Very rarely. If you did, you wouldn't do it around the Blacks. We had our own tables at the cafeteria. So I know it happened. I probably could name maybe a handful of people that tried it and with mixed results, some good, some probably not so good, but I don't know. They try it. A lot of people try it. They'll like, they'll kind of sneak it in, they'll like, and I don't know how to explain it. This is a very like weird topic for me talking about it because it's like,
I got you, man.
It's fine. I know how to discuss it. I'm just trying to make sure I choose my words carefully. But I wish the word didn't exist, but I'm glad it does because it gives Blacks and Browns so much opportunity to add passion to their language. It's like a motherfucker. When you say motherfucker, it's like motherfucker. It's like
Bernie Mac
that.
said, yeah.
It brings out a sense of your own. Like when we say where I'm from, it's it's like it adds so much more complexity and I guess just complexity to the conversation. Even though people think it's derogatory, it dumbs down the language. It adds so much. It means so many different things. Just the way you say it with the your whatever way you, I guess, emphasize what part of the word you emphasize could mean something differently. Yeah, it's a whole other language itself. I know people that could probably speak all day. Only thing they could say the N-word and you would understand everything they would say. Yeah, it's just that it's a good and bad word.
For me, growing up, man, I just never understood the negative connotation to it until I joined the Navy, and it was like in basic training, I could think about 6 people who got not they didn't get kicked out of the Navy, but they got set back. So we might have been on week 4, 5, 6, and if somebody heard you, one of the instructors, whatever, heard you say the word, you got kicked back to like day 1. It didn't matter if you was Black, Brown, Jehovah's Witness. It did not matter. And I remember being like I said, I came from New York, and like you, I woke up probably saying that word. And I have to be like, and I'm very light skinned too, so a lot of people don't even know that I'm Puerto Rican. So I had to be like, just, and I taught myself, like, I don't ever really ever say that word. The only time I do is probably if I go back to New York and I'm drinking, I'm with some people. That's probably the only time I ever really ever say that word. Or maybe if I'm singing a rap song that I like in the car, I gotta look around, make sure nobody looking.
No, it's hey, the N word has a complex history, and the good thing is it's the history of it is still being made today.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it started at one place, it's evolving, and today, tomorrow, it'll be more evolved than it was when it first came out.
Yeah.
So it's it's a complicated word, and it brings out a lot of good conversations. But it's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing.
All right, dude. Thank you for coming on the show, brother. Appreciate it. Let's do it again sometime.
Yes. Thank you for inviting me. I know we've been trying to do this for a good while,
yes,
and I really appreciate it. One thing though, I am wearing a USA shirt to help my people that are in Olympics right now. There's a lot of Army athletes at the Olympics right now, so please, if anybody can, just support them. Go ahead, watch it. I don't know what channels they're on, but we have this thing called Google, so you can definitely go ahead and Google what channels they're on. There's some good wrestlers of mine: Ildar Havisov, Alejandro Sancho, who is Puerto Rican, Cuban. He's from Florida.
Nice.
So yeah, go ahead and support them. And thank you for having me on the show. Kamsahamnida.